zig-ircbot. You already made a mistake not creating a repo until now, so your first commit is huge? Got it. That's usually how first commits are, to get something working. So you're making a bot, not a human client. Create an end file with all this crap. The JSON file, it defines API endpoints. Is this going to be like a server thing? Or, wait, what? Oh, why is this user configurable? That's weird. I don't know why this would be user configurable. Unless this is this the command? Or, I don't know. Message handlers to process receive messages. Sure. Init from config. Bleh. Client identify and client handle. And message handlers. A lot of question marks you got here. I don't know what this question mark means, but it's a sender, text, and buff. I don't know what buff means. Buff print? We're printing something? Process command. Get user. Is that trying to extract this name fields? I don't know why this is it's called process command. Or why this would be, yeah, I don't understand. Guess we'll look at the code and see. Adding new commands isn't a pain. It's always a pain. Yeah, but why are all those things optional? You don't have, message handler. So uptime. So why are these all calling process command? What is this doing? Get request key. So that's one of these things. Does Zig have named parameters? So fetch if requests get. What is this requests dot requests dot? What's in the context? Context? You don't have a thing called context. Appy? Well, this doesn't look good. Look at how deep this goes. Oh no. Where's context? Is it in config? No. Main? No. Client? Okay. Where's context? Where's context? Is it in this file? Oh, there it is. Requests, API.requests. Plural. String hash map to request. So you're looking up the handler for that request. That's weird. And then we download And if it's cached, then we look up the count. That's weird. Request.value. Huh? Request.value. Where's value? In here. I don't see value. But there it is. Oh, is this supposed to be the value of the string hash map? You should make like this lookup and .value a function. That's kind of convoluted. And then there's if it's cached, and then the cached J value, and the cached get cached key. Okay. And then if the .value so where's your cached J value? Is that? Wait, is it in the path? Like, oh, okay, yeah, gotcha. And then we see if it's a string. Parse time and return difference between now and then. I assume this comment used to live in like uptime, but we factored that out but didn't update this comment. This is why comments suck. Okay, so I get what you're doing. It seems like a lot of stuff that you're putting onto the user. Also, shouldn't you check if the cache is, if stuff is cached before you fetch? Or does fetch handle that? If it's cached, then the hell are we doing? I don't know what requires is. What's requires mean? Require to request. Blah 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 blah. Fetch an all requires, then do macro replacements. I don't know what requires are. Take as it requires. Cache is a place to store the fetch data. I get that, but I would imagine fetch returns the data or something. Like, I don't know what this requires is. New requires? Take as a new requires. Huh? One API call depend on another and thus get it fetched first. Okay. 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 So my comments about this is way more complicated than it needs to be, and I think that's because you're not like all this shouldn't care about the fact that you're storing requests in a hash map. I mean, this module shouldn't care about you storing this stuff in this hash map. Also, this stuff shouldn't care about this cache thing and the cache policies that you use. It just wants to get the data. So most of this crap belongs in API.zig or something. And it's also weird that it takes sender and text, and those aren't used. The new maps are necessary to avoid concur modifications. So I'm storing these data there so I can't figure out how to store without a concur modification error. You mean up here? The new requires stuff? Well, I don't know how requires is created in the first place. Get requires. If requires. Why does this have an underscore? You're using it. Value.object. Pmap. Pmap. Tmap. HS. Tip enum. Tip. What is going on? I don't know why it's called a pmap. Maybe that's your old name for it or something. So that's how it's created. Let's look at an example. So user ID is there. Why does it need user ID? Because you do this. I get what you're doing with this config file stuff, but it seems ridiculous. Seems like no mortal is going to be working with this stuff because it needs programming knowledge. And if you have programming knowledge, you can write programs. So the only benefit I see is that you don't need to recompile, and that potentially this is easier to work with. But this requires a bunch of machinery that is complicated in itself. Probably doesn't have good error handling, reporting messages and stuff. Hello, Jameis. Also, you have a hard-coded client ID. I don't think you meant to do that. Could be dangerous to have this client ID. I don't know. I don't know why you have this curl command anyway. Okay. Still weird. I don't see what the point of the curl thing is, because this can easily get out of date with the rest of the crap. I see it's an example, but Yeah, I don't have emotes yet. I didn't implement that yet. So now that you have requires, what you're doing is, wait, why is this a JSON key value? So initially we put key is that, and then I guess value is null or something. Yeah, value is null. Okay. I get why you're doing that. And then what you want to do is fill in shouldn't this be a pointer, not just the hash map itself? Shouldn't you get a pointer to the requests? This seems like a disaster. So you request.get. Require key value.key, and then you. So this relies on the config being written correctly. So if I didn't have user ID here, then that would blow up in weird ways. That makes sense. And how have I been? Been a long time. It's been a week. I think something we talked about a week ago. It's going all right. We're looking at this IRC bot, well, a Twitch IRC bot that two-step wrote, and we are getting confused. Like, just there's so much funkiness going on. You know, it makes it hard to follow. So JSKV.value. Okay. And then new clockwires put. Okay. So when you tried it without this, your new requires thing, without the separate hash map, were you modifying require kv.value like you're doing here? Like instead of JSKV, it would be require kv.value? Or were you doing something else? What did it look like when you didn't have the separate hash map? You don't know. You know, if you don't use a pointer, Zig can choose whether to pass by value reference. Using a pointer makes it mutable. Well, Zig only pass. Wait. I don't think Zig ever passes by reference. I don't know why setting the value would cause a concurrent modification error because it can't detect it. I don't know how it would be able to detect it. And that doesn't make any sense anyway, because you're not concurrently modifying the structure of the container. You're modifying values in it. Also, login channel. So there's no way for me to, like, if I was gonna make a command like uptime stragger, then there's no way for using this stuff to set a variable. Like, there are variables, but they aren't. All the substitution you're doing is where is it? Where's the why does this work? Where are you doing the dollar stuff? I saw it somewhere. Oh, here it is. Replace text with the config. Yeah, so the only way to set variables is through the config. You can't do it from a handler. So that seems really limiting. Values, variables, functions. Pass by value parameters. Primitives such as integers and floats are passed by as parameters or copied. The copy is available in the function body. Structs and sometimes can be more efficient, since copy would be arbitrarily expensive depending on the size. When they're passed as parameters, may choose the copy and pass by value or pass by reference. Parameters are immutable. I don't trust that. That seems surprising. Oh, I guess if it's just a plain old struct. So I have my C++ hat on, but I should have my C hat on. So passing that thing by value is fine, but it's kind of weird. Because what if it has self-pointers? Yeah, I don't really trust that. Why use Mac? Because you're used to it. That's not supported yet? What's not supported yet? self-referential structs. Why wouldn't that be supported? I 49. Well, probably not this 49. Try requires output, but you wouldn't put. You would just modify it in place. It's already there. The entry for that request already exists. You're going to modify that entry. You're not going to modify the string hash map, because the string hash map already has the stuff in it. You're just modifying the stuff in it, right? I mean, I would not do it this way. This doesn't make, the way you do it doesn't make sense to me, because you're mixing so you're using requires to store both the things we need to look up and the results of the lookup. I would put them as separate things, but I mean, I guess if they're keys, then like what is the key anyway? The key request key value dot value fetch requests. Okay, value put so here we pkv.value, but where's the key go? There's the key. So for this, we have the config.json looks like that. And we have requires after loading config.json. It looks like get users, user ID, null. Something like that. And then requires after fetch would be something like get users, user ID 42. Oh, why use Linux Mint? Because, why not? I don't know. I'm not picky. I could switch to another desktop environment if I had a good reason to, but I don't have a good reason to. This one's working out fine for me. About adding commands is supported. Okay. No, you don't want get or put. You already have this null here. You want to replace it with 42. So just set the thing that's null, you set it to 42. Right? Or am I missing something? So that would be in your code. You got this. Oh yeah, I don't have zig. There we go. So when you do that, you can instead do require kv.value. And I assume this makes a pointer to it. KSV, wait. So we get a required key value. Then we fetch the key. Request.getKey. And the, oh. Actually, you would need to iterate for each one. So value.iterator. Well, not value.iterator. We want, so the request KV is we want the value. So again, I think you made it weird, but so key iterator. Well, this would be entry, and then we need to march to go through each entry and copy. Or so it looks like what you're doing is you're replacing this whole object with whatever the fetch returns. So that might give us more data than we ask for. You can't modify through an iterator? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Entry iterator. This program is structured in a totally different way than I think about stuff, which is why I'm struggling. So you could value.value. I mean, you could just do this. No, yeah. Yeah. Could just do that. And that would give us other crap. Like, bio, leech dude. That we didn't ask for, but we got anyway. Because that's what you're doing now anyway. And then you won't need this crap. I don't know why you're doing replace text map. I don't know what that is, but does that make sense? Hello, Marco. It is a cutesy wootsy shirt. Am I thinking about it right? Two-step. So as far as this thing, I don't know why you're checking if it's cached. Because, like, you're only fetching it if this thing is available. I don't know why you're doing this if at all. I don't know, it confuses me. Tmap. I think it's a tmap. Cached op. Oh, so if you have nothing to load, why would you have nothing to load? Why would this be empty or omitted? What's the point? Yeah, I know why I know why the if is there, but like, why is it optional at all? Like, what's the point of specifying any of these without a cached? Maybe you're... Yeah, I don't see the point. What is this stuff doing? Does that mean dynamically sized? So, there's all this parsing crap. I would put that in its own function so you can test it, because this is like pure logic, right? It's pretty easy to write automated tests for it, or to fuzz it in isolation. Now, you seem to be a person that doesn't write tests, but it would still help a lot with like all this indentation if you shrunk it down, dedented it by putting it in a function and giving it a name. WTF zig, yes. Means zero terminated. That's weird. Does anyone use it? Well, apparently you never heard of it. I've heard of it. I wrote a zig program a few months ago just to try it out. It seems okay. This is significantly larger than the program I wrote. It's doing a lot more stuff. It seems like iteration over containers is kind of eh. Or maybe it was just like, there's this for syntax. Why don't I use the for syntax instead of mucking with iterators manually? Like here, why don't I use the for syntax? There are some tests in there. Inside of where? Where are they? Are they like hidden inside of like this stuff? Well, you got a lot of complicated logic here that doesn't have tests. But yeah, you got some stuff here. This doesn't seem like a test really, because you're not asserting anything except that you get non-null. So I can change message parse to return just something that's non-null, and everything claims to work when it clearly doesn't. Oh, you have this stuff. I missed these. What is this backslash? Is that make a string to the end of the line? That's pretty cool. I didn't know Zig had fancy syntax. You just assert that's not null. You would assert the nickname of stirtoke. You're testing stirtoke. That's these are bad tests. They're not testing anything. For syntax doesn't work with hash maps. Really? Really? For loops iterate over slices and arrays. Labeled for, inline for, while. Yeah, according to their claim, you can't for loop over zig iterate over hash map. Zig iterate. Has map. Well, Google ain't helping. Docs suck. Iterator. Well, that's really unfortunate. You made your own tw0st3p. Okay, that's why you had the test for tw0st3p. What? Oh, my fingers are on the wrong keys. What is an entry? Used key values. So you could enumerate over the entries, but that's worse. So this is the iterator. Yeah. Lame. Seems like a pretty sad omission. Then again, my phone's ringing. Be right back. Pop. C#, Python, or JavaScript as a first language to fully learn? You never fully learn a language, but all of those are pretty good first languages. Hello, Vex. I saw you were doing some. What were you doing? You were playing with pandas this morning? Something? I don't know. I tuned in for 10 seconds. Two-step, what makes you say that Zig is really fast? The data model is a bit of a mess. Well, what data do you have? You're talking about this request stuff? Or something else? And homepage of Zig claims to be faster than C. Performance and safety choose to. Faster. Zig is faster than C. Yes, this is a reason Zig can be faster than C. But this is, all these other claims are not Zig is faster than C. This is the only claim that I see of Zig being faster than C. And of course, there's no evidence or anything. Pandas is faster than normal Python? Pandas is normal Python. What are you talking about? It's a library. Is there anything else you want me to look at, two-step? I didn't look deep into stuff. Not sure if the world needs it. I think the world needs something like Zig. We need a C++ competitor that isn't Rust. I'm not saying that Zig is a C++ competitor. Well, we need a better C, and one direction is like C++ and Rust, and another direction is Zig. That's what I mean by we need another competitor. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that Pandas is faster than normal Python. Like, okay, I get what you mean, but that's not how I think about it. Because normal Python doesn't provide a bunch of the stuff that Pandas has. So I don't think you can say it's faster than normal Python when it does different things. GCC. So how are you compiling the GCC version? Is there a standard way to compile? I'm not familiar with the benchmark game stuff. Like, is this cranking out LTO and no pick, no pi, and all that crap? GCC 5? What? Why are we looking at GCC 5 and GCC 8? What's going on? GCC 1? GMP? Not really. What? Are you measuring this as part of the benchmark? Set float mode optimized. In other words, produce the wrong result. How it's compiled at the bottom. Mid frame pointer, native, unroll loops, whatever. Static. Okay. I don't know if this implies LTO or if it implies no pi. I don't know. And you're doing fast math, I assume. Do they do fast math explicitly here? Maybe we need to opt into fast math. I don't know. Oh, so GCC 8 isn't the GCC version, and it's just like, I don't know, a counter for the 8th program written in C or something? I don't know. Why does this work? If path len of len. Who updates len? That? Huh? I don't understand. So we found... So if we find a dot, so we do something. If we don't find a dot, we do something else. But, huh? Eh? I don't understand why your parser is written this way. There's an array. Because you got this duplicated. If there's an array thing. So you don't handle arrays at all if there's no dots? Like, what you should do is find the first dot or bracket instead of looking for dot and then looking for bracket. Because you can get a dot, or you can get a bracket, or you can get neither, or you can get both. And if you get both, they could be in any order. So this parser doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I get what that's doing. I was wondering who was updating len. If path was x, y, like 0, 0, then you go down this code path and you treat this as a string key, which is totally wrong. Your current examples, I don't know how these work. How do they strip out the 0? Because okay, if we got a dot, our dot is here, then the path part would be this. Oh, and then we look at path part. Yeah, this parser is written in a wacky way. I don't know how you came to writing it like this. Path part. Yeah, it was wacky. Around line 85. That's not modifying len. Yeah, your parser is weird. I'd say put in a function and rewrite it. Yeah. Index of. So here you're not using your stir-toke helper. I guess because your stir-toke helper only takes a single character and this has multiple. Ugh. Look for field in strings and replace with config.field. Seems kind of dangerous. Who knows what could be in the config? So, like you're taking a pointer here, and you got all this noise dereferencing that pointer. Here, here, here. Isn't a slice? Oh, you're modifying the pointer? This is leaking memory, isn't it? I think you're leaking memory. This also only replaces the first thingy like that. Key. Yeah, this is also suspect. And yeah, this is weird. All sorts of yuck. Replace text map. Hey, look, it's duplicated. You got the duplicated the bugs. Beautiful. Map is var. What is var? Guess that's just infer? No. Because var as a type. Var. Function parameters can be declared with var. In this case, the parameter types will be inferred when the function is called. Okay. Weird, but okay. Yeah. Wait. Oh, never mind. Like, it's just weird having the. Why are these optional? These can be empty. Empty and optional are behave similarly. May as well make the same. If you make some progress in cleaning it up, do you really want to add more features to this thing? Add more levels of indentation? Maybe. I'd be scared to modify this to add features. There's all this like dot value dot something dot get dot value dot key dot value dot value. It's like, how the heck is anybody supposed to understand what this does without spending 10 minutes looking through all the structures? Overcomplicated? Yeah. Like, you know, you got a huge pyramid here that's always scary. And there's two very similar pyramids right next to each other, which is scary. Why does it make sense for requires to be optional here? Isn't empty the same as null? Keep it simple. It's hard to make it simple and have it also work. That's a challenge. It's like saying keep it simple is like saying make the code work. How are you supposed to act on that advice? I'd call that shitty advice. My chair is really noisy. So, like this, the problem is, so back to our working on profile pictures, caching and stuff. So we got a request to open, and then we're storing, and then we get, and then we get again. And when we originally looked up, we got some key. So I think our entries should be based on the file name and the key. There aren't too many functions to manage in the code. Yeah, that's the problem. There aren't enough functions, so you end up with .value instead of something explaining what this thing does. And you end up with, like, you know, huge levels of indentation instead of a function to cut down on half of this. If you need to change it, you can just change it. Doesn't that apply to all software, no matter how it's written? Simple as can be to get the task done. That still is bad advice, in my opinion. It's unactionable.